So, yeah, I was not someone who was a big fan of the book Ready Player One, even though it was seemingly written for guys like me, i.e. schlubby dorks almost in their 40s who still think they're in their 20s, obsessed with the popular culture of their 10s. No, I don't think it was the worst thing ever written, or everything wrong with nerd culture, or any of the hyperbole that's come to be attached to it. I just thought it was kind of shallow and clunky, well, yes, also being more than a little gross and smug and gatekeepy, in the way that a lot of the self-congratulatory, yay, we took over the world, nerd culture reference fest ephemera that was popular at that moment in time was. A surface-level mashup of The Matrix, Tron, and Snow Crash that used a riff on Charlie and the Chocolate Factory as pretext for a wish-fulfillment fantasy in which the equivalent of a globalist techno-corporate kingship is bestowed on whoever has memorized certain movies and gets high scores in old video games, and that's it. That's the entire thematic arc of the thing, and the book sees nothing worth questioning or showing deeper insight about. I bring that up mainly because I feel like I'm on the more positive end when it comes to critics for Ready Player One the movie. It's not great, but it's good, it's solid, it's possibly second or third tier Spielberg, so better than most other directors' absolute best. Perhaps in part because I'm so impressed that anyone was able to make a remotely good film out of this material. Granted, to do so, they had to all but completely rewrite the characters, the setting, the world building, the motivations, the structure, the sequence of events, the overriding thematic arcs, almost every major emotional beat, the payoffs, the challenges, the puzzles, the answers, maybe the entire point, and build an entire extended sequence, which I will not spoil, around the idea that sometimes adaptations have to do that, but hey, getting it done is getting it done. In any case, story-wise, we're in the near future, everyone is poor, everything sucks, and almost everyone spends their time escaping how much everything sucks by playing a virtual reality game called The Oasis that's basically a giant, pumped-up, nearly infinite, malleable version of Second Life created by an eccentric genius who passed away several years ago. Our main storyline concerns the fact that said genius, named James Halliday and played by Steven Spielberg's secret weapon of the moment, Mark Rylance, left his last addition to the game a series of challenges, puzzles, and clues which, if solved, will unlock a series of keys, doors, and ultimately the grand prize of anointing the winner the inheritor of Halliday's billions and total control over the fate of the Oasis itself. Obviously, a lot of people want to gain and use this power and wealth for lots of reasons, but there's an evil corporation run by evil corporate guys who are evil and corporate and use their evil corporate money to pay a whole army of evil corporate players to hunt for the keys and clues for them so they can win and take over the Oasis and make it corporate and evil instead of, I mean, well, technically it's already corporate, but like they want to make the evil version of corporate with ads and tiers. And okay, the logic behind this doesn't really make a whole lot of sense, but as net neutrality metaphors go, I guess it'll do. I do have questions about how VR actually works in this world. Like, everyone has to do the moves to make their characters do the moves, and it's a great visual, so when they cut to the real world and everyone's actually pretending to fire guns and doing the martial arts moves, but then I kind of have to ask myself, why does everyone on the planet seem to know complicated martial arts, and how does the game know when you're jumping like an inch in real life to jump 20 miles in the game? Someone will have to explain. In any case, our heroes are a motley crew of good guys led by Wade Watts, aka Parzival, working together to beat the bad guys to the end of the game in order to keep the Oasis free-ish and avenge bad stuff the corporation does in the real world, and that's pretty much it. Like I said, they've kind of pulled the guts out of the book and streamlined it into a straightforward good guy versus bad guy treasure hunt with all the fat trimmed off, and I think that was the correct decision. Besides, the story was never the selling point here. The hook of the whole thing is that this is a VR story that acknowledges that a wide-use VR world would mostly be full of people dressing up in pieces and costumes of their favorite movies and cartoons and other games and whatever, you know, hey, wow, it's Sonic the Hedgehog riding Bart Simpson's skateboard on an orange Hot Wheels track, and that kind of thing. And while it's an easy call that stuff like that works better on screen than on the page because it can just be for the half second that it's fun, instead of you having to read a Wikipedia-length explanation of what each piece of stuff is, Spielberg makes the correct decision not to dwell or fawn over anything that isn't a direct plot point. The references and Easter eggs are there, they go by, maybe you notice them, maybe you don't, but it's not obtrusive or obnoxious, and I was expecting it to be both of those things. On the other hand though, even though I'm glad all of the remember this stuff doesn't get in the way, it still feels like a missed opportunity that it's all still just stuff. doesn't it? I mean, like, the point of avatars and skins and mods and games is self-expression, and the idea that the heroes may or may not be very different people than they assume each other to be in reality is a story point, so it feels like the point of this whole exercise would be to actually use our familiarity with all this omnipresent pop culture iconography as symbolism to explore or at least say something about why this character uses this avatar costume weapon vehicle combo, what it means to them, what it says about them. And you think that's where it's going, and then it just doesn't. Like, the internet got really mad at the trailers for this movie because the Iron Giant is fighting, and that's kind of a betrayal of that character because the Iron Giant was an anti-violence movie, and yeah, you know, that is exactly the kind of dumb way people use mods and skins in games, so it's authentic to the brand, right? But it'd be great if the film knew that this was dumb and had thoughts about it, or used it to make the plot more engaging. We're told the bad guy is bad because he doesn't like all this geeky stuff. He just wants to make money. So when he busts out a big monster super weapon at the end and you figure, oh, they're gonna beat him because they'll know a secret about how to do it that he doesn't because he doesn't really get it, and then instead, no, they just have a bigger thing that fights him, and oh, okay. But on the other hand, what it turns out to be and how the whole fight goes down is pretty incredible to see, even if it is the cheapest of cheap pops, and I appreciate that the pool of references itself has been expanded out from 80s stuff Ernie Cline, the author, would have enjoyed as a kid, to pretty much anything, so that the whole exercise feels a lot less self-indulgent than the book did. I'm really glad that the puzzles and challenges themselves have been altered, so it's not about trying to prove who knows more trivia, and instead it's more about trying to solve these puzzles about Halliday's life and psychology and what he might be trying to tell them about himself. Ready Player One just is not a great film. There's not much to it. It doesn't have a lot to say and breaks very little new ground, but I sincerely enjoyed it, and it's a real reminder of how much Spielberg can elevate a project. I feel like it's not a 3-star movie, but I had 3 stars worth of fun, so maybe 2 2/3 of a star, I guess. I'm not gonna make a habit of doing that, but yeah, I liked it, and I'm gonna say it's worth a shot.